Hello, Nerd Universe, and welcome to the 6th episode of Insert Nerd Topic Here. This is going to be part 2 of our discussion about The Witcher, the books, the TV show, and the game.
This is a big spoiler warning for anybody who hasn't read, seen, or played The Witcher in any of those mediums that we just mentioned. So obviously, if you haven't done any of those, go do that and then come back and give us a listen.
We have a lot to talk about, which is why we have 2 episodes of this to begin with. If you haven't, you should go back and listen to our part 1 of The Witcher episode, which is our first episode.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are we going to talk about here today?
Do you want to start with talking about Gwent?
I love Gwent.
Gwent is awesome.
So, we did a little wild thing a few weeks ago.
Yes.
We love Gwent in Witcher 3. It's a great card game. It is a card game. And we liked playing it in the game. And we were like, I wonder if maybe they made real decks. And so we went looking around, and somebody mass produces Gwent decks. So we bought one. And it's been amazing.
Yeah, it has been really awesome to play. This is not the card game standalone app. Do keep in mind, this is like an actual deck of cards it's the exact cards from the Witcher 3 game.
Played the exact same way, same rules.
It's all 5 decks from the game.
That is Scoia'tael, Skellige, Monsters, Nilfgaard, and Northern Realms.
Yes,
Yeah.
those 5 factions are the decks that we have.
For those of you that don't have the Toussaint expansion, the Skellige deck is in that.
Yes.
So, I don't know about you, but I actually love playing the cards, as in, like, physical cards, because I know it's one thing going against AI, it's another thing going against another person. And I know I tried to teach my parents, you were there.
I was there.
Tried to teach my parents this, and hi, Mom and Dad. They struggled a little bit. But
there's a lot of math involved if you're not playing it on the app, because in the game. If you're playing it in the game, it obviously does all the math for you. But what we like to do is when we play the actual card game is to just play with like a sticky note or a little sketch pad next to us that we can just do some basic addition and subtraction on for each round, because that really, really helps.
It makes it so much easier, especially when you're trying to figure out how many points you need to
If someone plays a weather card, it changes everything.
It's all over.
Yeah.
It's all over. From Scorch, it's all over. I don't know. When we first got it, what we did is we set up our ideal decks.
Yeah.
And we separated those from the others, but if anybody comes later and they're like, hey, why can't I have this instead? I don't see a reason why we can't change it around, because we have all the possibilities. Mm-hmm. And you can build it however you want, as long as you follow the rules.
And this deck was that we found actually included 2 different copies of the neutral cards. So like the Geralt card and the Ciri card and the all the cards that you get
Dandelion
for every deck. You actually get a second copy that has different artwork on it that actually looks really, really cool.
It's really neat. I really like it. It's different, but I like it.
The cards feel super authentic, and we'd highly recommend anybody who enjoyed Gwent in The Witcher 3 to buy an actual Gwent deck. Speaking of Gwent in The Witcher 3, let's talk about its counterpart in the standalone game.
Apparently, we have a really controversial opinion on this.
Apparently, we prefer The Witcher 3 Gwent to the standalone Gwent. They're both made by CD Projekt Red. They're both made by the same people, but the standalone one is so much more complicated.
It's complicated, but people apparently love it more because it's more balanced. And I don't know if I agree with that, because you can beat every other one of the factions with any deck. So it just depends. You just have to be better at playing.
Yeah, if you're losing in Gwent in Witcher 3, just get better at the game.
Just get better.
That's the whole point.
Increase the difficulty, lower the difficulty, just figure it out, man.
Yeah, in the standalone version, there's a bunch of new like rules and just ways to like actually like attack other cards.
And
it's
you have to
really
like build cards, like actually build them, like make them, I think. And I know that I won the first round I did in the app, but I had no idea what I was doing. I was just picking cards, and it added numbers into some and took away some from others and multiplied on the board.
Also, when you first download the game, it doesn't give you a rundown on how to do it. It's just like, oh, go. Here's your first game.
Are you sure you didn't just pass it up?
I might have, but as far as I'm concerned, I did not get a briefing on what I was doing. It just kind of took me in, and I was like, okay,
yeah,
this is completely different than what I remember from The Witcher 3.
Also, visually, I think it's just a lot.
It's parts of it are cool, like when you can see your actual leader card, when you can see the actual character just like on the side. I think that's kind of neat. But I mean, otherwise, I'm just like, what is going on?
I really like the idea of a card game just being like on a board.
Yeah.
And I think what the app does is it just makes it too good visually, where it's like I don't know where to look.
Yeah, I mean, there's other card games like Hearthstone, for example, which is a hugely popular card game that do extremely well in a electronic format. But I think Gwent is, in our opinion, not the same. And I think something's really taken away from it when you play with all these more complicated rules and everything. And we much prefer the standalone version and the version that is in The Witcher 3. We don't like the new Gwent app, although it is extremely popular.
Apparently, everybody is like loving this Gwent app, except for a handful like us that are very against it.
Yeah.
So I had it for like a few hours, and I deleted it because, we have a real deck now. I don't need it.
We have real Gwent.
We can just pull it out, and the power was out the other day, and we just played Gwent until it was over. And so,
yeah,
that was really nice.
It was very nice.
Something else we didn't talk about enough in our last episode, I think, was the Striga. Yeah. They made it in the show really dramatic.
Yeah, they did. It was it was really interesting how they took it in the show, because I know you have the book perspective, which is
I've got both locked into my mind. And I know that in the show, it's like Foltest and Ada, they were like, being all incesty behind the curtains, nobody knows. But in the book, they were actually intending to get married. And people were just like, oh, okay, that's happening.
Yeah, everybody's like cool with it.
So
it's some weird like Lannister stuff going on.
They just didn't care, I guess, the reactions that they were going to get. So for the most part, they were just gonna do that, and then something happened, and Ada died and became the Striga because, well, exactly like in the show, because yeah,
the Striga is a really cool scene in the show. I think, like the way Geralt fights it is pretty cool. He uses some signs there. He uses Ard and Jurden, but I think its difference is a little interesting in how they kind of hid the incest.
I think they wanted to be different from Game of Thrones a little bit, personally. Yeah. Because Game of Thrones, not like incest is a good thing in general. No. Or in Game of Thrones. No. But like, I don't know. It just seemed different. It was a different vibe in the book. Yeah. So that was a little weird to me. I think a quote really stuck out to me. When I was reading the book, there was a quote like 8 pages into the first book, and it was like, 20 years ago, who would have thought, even in a drunken stupor, that such a profession as a witcher would exist? So what does that mean? Does that mean that witchers are like brand new?
I guess. I mean, we know Geralt has well, does he mention in the show how long he's been a witcher?
I don't think so.
I think it's actually like, I think he's actually been a witcher for at least, around 20 years at the time.
I would say it's...
But we know he's not one of the original witchers from the School of the Wolf.
He's one of the last ones. Yeah. But that makes it so much more interesting, I think. Does that mean that Geralt was an original and one of the last ones? I don't know. It just feels like the timeline's different. And the way I was getting it from the show and the way I was getting it from the game is completely different than what I'm getting from this one quote in the book.
Yeah. It seems as though the Witcher profession hasn't been around for that long in the book, but in the show, I guess it's been around. In the game, it's definitely, well, in the game takes place much later than both the book and the show. So the Witcher profession has been around for a while.
But they still talk about in the book about how many like Witchers there aren't anymore. And the more witches there are, the more monsters there are. But somehow, it's just, I don't know. It's a weird line. And I paused on it for a while.
What caused this profession to originate?
Where did it start? Let's get to the very base of it. Tell me where it came from.
What person was like, okay, we got this really serious monster problem. Like, we got all these monsters popping up all over the place. We should create a mutant to go and fight them.
I don't know.
Sounds like the X-Men to me.
I hope we get an origin story sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Or maybe there is one and I just haven't read it yet.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept because it is a profession. So they're not like superheroes or anything, even though Geralt is awesome as he is.
I consider Geralt a superhero.
He's a superhero. Right,
he's pretty awesome.
But, who had that idea? Where did that come from?
Give me an origin story.
Yeah.
Or at least let me buy it. If anybody knows that there is an origin story and we're just making stuff up right now, please reach out to us and tell me so I can read it and be on par with all of you.
Stay tuned to the end for social media.
We spent a lot of time doing the game.
Yeah.
And
I think we sunk over 100 hours and well over 100 hours into it.
We've played 2 times all the way through. Mm-hmm. And I started one for myself.
And then I started one on the hardest difficulty, which I am not liking.
Just to see what happens. But yeah, he died, guys, right away in the very first
I died to the ghouls in the beginning of the game. Like the very first fight of monsters that you have, I died instantly.
It was hilarious.
It is not pleasant.
Well, I guess that's why they call it. Wait, is it impossible? What is
Death
it?
March.
Death March.
Yeah.
It's it has death in the title. I think it's gonna be hard.
If you are really good at gaming and you're up for a challenge, I highly recommend it. Try playing The Witcher 3 on the hardest difficulty and get all the way through the main story at least.
What is your favorite part of the game?
My favorite part of the game?
Like region.
Oh, my favorite region? Oh,
yeah.
Toussaint. Is that even a question?
No, but I just wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah.
Toussaint's amazing.
It is so much better than any other part of the game. Like, okay. Visually and musically and weather. And like the weather's just better there. The people are nicer to you there. Like everything about it is pretty much like, okay, don't get me wrong. We're not dissing the rest of the game, but just the locations are like very dismal and like not really, I mean, they can be pretty at times.
Disclaimer, we do actually love all of The Witcher 3.
Yeah, I'm not We're not trying to diss the game. It's just the environments that you start in, like Velen's especially.
Yeah. We make fun of Velen a lot.
And White Orchard and Novigrad and Skellige even a little bit. At times can feel like really, really bad.
Depressing. I get sad sometimes in Velen because I'm like, oh,
you're another swamp.
More swamp, and then look, a big mountain.
Look, more people hanging from a tree. Oh, that's nice.
Oh my god, yes. So
but you don't get any of that in Toussaint, which is the Blood and Wine expansion location, which is farther south, so you get more. You know, you have a lot of vineyards, which is.
It's so pretty. It really looks like a mix of Italy and France. And
it looks really nice.
I loved exploring Toussaint, and I loved the quests, the entire progression of the quests.
Yeah, it took us 4 tries to get the best ending to the Toussaint main quest.
I lost count. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Okay. Spoiler alert. Excuse me, for those who haven't seen. Or haven't played the Blood and Wine expansion, because we're about to just completely spoil the ending. But the Blood and Wine expansion ends with Anna Henrietta, who's the Duchess of Toussaint, and Sienna, who's her sister, kind of at a feud, and Sienna's being tried, and you basically can reason with her, but you had to have done something earlier, and they could either both end up dead, one of them can end up dead, or they both are alive, and everybody's a little angry at you.
Or you could end up in prison.
Yeah, Geralt can end up in prison, which is apparently the preferred ending.
A lot of people, when we got the first ending, what happened is Anna Henrietta died, and we were like, no.
Yeah, Sienna used her hair. Well, actually, they both died.
Yes, they both died.
Yeah, they both died. Sienna used her hairpin to stab her, and then Damien de la Tour shot her with a crossbow.
Yeah, but
so
they both
died. They both died.
But Anna Henrietta was the big one that died.
Yeah, we kind of didn't want her to die, although a lot of people don't like her character.
Yeah, and apparently she's like... Okay, well, when we were researching why we got this terrible ending and how to fix it, which
Thank you, Witcher 3 Wiki.
I know what you guys are thinking. You're probably like, well, why are you guys trying to cheat to get the right ending you want? That's not how you play games. Let us play how we want to play, okay? We just wanted everyone to be happy and not go to prison.
Yeah, we didn't want to end up in prison. We wanted to get paid.
It was really dark and gloomy. Like...
Well, okay, do keep in mind, the events prior to this, all of Beauclair, which is the capital city of Toussaint, was kind of under attack by a bunch of vampires.
Which they bounced back from really well.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with them killing Detloff in the end, I think there's usually probably a time gap, a little bit, at least like a week or so, between when Geralt gets awarded and... the attack ends, basically. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of time gap, so they don't exactly bounce back super quick. But, yeah, they were just under attack by vampires, and Geralt saved them. He should be grateful, or they should be grateful of his service. Yeah, and everybody should just live happily ever after.
So we went back really far, multiple times.
It was at least like an hour's worth of gameplay back.
Because we were so upset that we missed literally the smallest detail in the world, and we had to know it to get our good ending.
Yeah, and so if you're looking for that detail, if you were as clueless as we were at this, when you're in the Land of 1,000 Fables, which we'll talk about in a minute, if you're in the Land of 1,000 Fables with Sienna and you after you kill the big bad wolf, you have the option to listen to her story or to just ignore her. Listen to her story.
If you want the ending we have.
Yes, where they both live and Sienna goes to prison.
Listen to her story, but there's also several steps you have to take after that to like convince her.
Mm-hmm. You have to convince her to forgive Anna Henrietta.
And that's hard too. And we messed that up a couple times as well.
Yeah,
so we got it.
We ended up trying about 4 times to get the ending that we wanted, I think. But
it was very sad.
Let's talk about that Land of 1,000 Fables for a minute, because it was a little cringy, a little weird, but kind of like cool at the same time.
I think that's as close to an acid trip you can get without being on acid. I don't know. I've never been on acid, but
yeah, no, it was super weird. So they go into this, Geralt and Sienna go into this weird world trapped in a book, basically. And they open it up and everything's kind of gone down the drain. Like,
it is unstable.
It's full of every fairy tale imaginable, and it's an unstable world, so everything is trying to attack you. There's pixies trying to attack you. You fight the Wicked Witch, and you fight the Big Bad Wolf, and you fight the 3 bears and the 3 pigs.
Just a warning, this gets really dark, so we're going to talk about some of the dark things, and if you get triggered by that, please stop listening or skip this part. Like, it's unstable. Literally, it says stable until, and it gives the year, and it's past that stable year.
Right.
So it's no longer stable, and everything's crumbling around it.
Yeah, the world was created by a mage, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think
probably. And who else would make it?
I think it was created by a mage for Anna Henrietta and Sienna to have like a play world, basically,
so
when they were kids.
Could have an escape and be happy.
Yeah.
But like the big bad wolf we go to, and we have to go down into a well, and we find Red Riding Hood's body at the bottom of the well.
Oh my god. And you go up into Rapunzel's tower,
Longlocks.
which is Longlocks, probably due to copyright reasons. Longlocks, and she's hanging by her hair from a chandelier.
Not gonna lie, I kind of laughed when we first saw that because it was so, I don't know, you ever just laugh at something that just startles you?
Well, see, there's points in the game where you like, if you're doing like side quests and stuff and you have to go find somebody, you know they're dead.
You get to a point where you're like, oh, there's no way that
they're definitely dead.
They've been gone for a week, they're dead.
And like we had already done the Red Riding Hood part at that point, so we knew that Red Riding Hood was dead, and I was like climbing this tower, and I was like,
and her prince was dead on the rocks.
Oh, her prince had fallen from the rocks and smashed his skull open, I think.
Yeah.
So I was walking up the tower, and I'm like, she's gonna be dead. Like, there's no way she's alive. And I walked in, and I don't know, I kind of screamed a little bit.
You
I was
cackled.
I was like, oh my god, I was right. But geez, it was dark.
It was the whole thing. It was so bright
Mm-hmm.
and dark at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's another thing you have to do to get a good ending. You have to, when you're in the town, get the ribbon.
Oh
from that
yeah.
little girl.
If you don't get the ribbon from the little girl, Sienna dies.
You do not win.
You do not win. You do not get a good ending no matter what. By the way,
Unless you want Sienna to die, but then you end up, I think, in prison.
Yeah, you end up in prison for that. That's not.
So it's up to you if you really want to go to prison.
But the ribbon teleports her back to the Land of a Thousand Fables, so she can be saved very briefly.
It was a really, really weird experience, and I think if you've played The Witcher like all the way up until this point, you're gonna be like, this is different.
It's gonna be a little off-putting. I mean, you're gonna be like, "What? I'm in a new world. What's going on?" And the world will have different elements and little gnomes that run around. They're like really, really small, and pixies that are trying to find you, and a goose.
A golden path.
The golden goose.
Yes, the golden goose that gives the golden eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Giants.
There's the giant at the top
Beanstalk.
of the beanstalk. So it's, I would say part of it is cool, but I mean the other part of it kind of takes you out a little bit. But I would say that is probably the only like sort of reasonably bad part about the Tucson expansion, the Blood and Wine expansion.
I wouldn't even say that's bad. It's just, it was surprising and off-putting.
It's just weird. You got to get past it for a minute.
But after going through it like 3 times, we kind of got used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, yeah. There's also a bunch of little Easter eggs in there. Like there's actually a dragon. It's a wyvern because all the dragons in The Witcher 3 are wyverns. They're
not the same word, people.
Mm-hmm.
Please learn the difference. Tell your friends.
But anyway, there's an actual dragon, I'm using air quotes, that was shot down. I think it was a Nilfgaardian dragon. I think it's a golden dragon, actually. Which I think girl was like, huh, that's interesting. When you walk by it, like I thought golden dragons weren't a thing. So that's a kind of neat little touch that they throw in.
Oh, and then you have the emperor running around
Oh,
without
the
his
emperor.
clothes on, and he's like, "Look at my beautiful attire."
It's
like
the Emperor of Nilfgaard.
Yeah, it's so that's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's so funny to me.
Yeah, that was a nice little Easter egg they threw in. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I think we have a confession to make.
Mm-hmm.
We have created a playlist called Witcher Bops,
mm-hmm.
in which we have a bunch of bops from mostly from the game,
mm-hmm.
but we have, of course, Toss a Coin to Your Witcher.
From the show. And then pretty much everything else is from the game.
We like playing this when we're playing Gwent.
Yeah.
Or when we're cleaning the house and we just need music.
Yeah. The Witcher 3 soundtrack is really unique because it uses a bunch of different instruments that are of the time period for The Witcher. So it actually like really fits the mood really well, but it also combines like orchestral strings that we use today and things like that. The entire soundtrack was made by 2 people, which I think is really cool. Not recorded by 2. It was recorded by 2 people, but the musicians, there were more than 2 musicians.
Right.
But for most of like the lute sounds and the like guitarish sound, the plucked string sounds, are the same 2 people, but they had an orchestra come in, they had a choir come in, they had some lady come in and do some vocal shouts and stuff, which it's an awesome soundtrack. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. It's on every streaming platform ever, and it's all over the place.
We absolutely love it. We love going through it. We like picking our favorites out of it, and we made a playlist about it. Mm-hmm. So I love it.
Yeah, it's a great soundtrack. Highly recommend.
I still think I don't know. Every time we're in the car and I'll just like plug in my phone and he's like, "What are you going to play?" And I turn on Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, and then all of a sudden it's bopping.
And we're just like, yes.
Turn the volume up and really start getting into the music. And after a while, even with the game soundtrack, you start to learn every little like, huh.
Yeah, you start to know every note. Our fridge door sounds like you're getting a new quest in The Witcher.
That was that was one of the first things when we moved in and we were playing The Witcher, is he would be on the couch and then I would get up and I would open the refrigerator and I'd be like, "Did you just get a new quest?"
And he'll be like, "No, I think you just opened the fridge."
No. But we didn't talk about it at first, but you mentioned it and I was like,
That's what that is. That's what that is.
I thought that too. And it was so funny. That was a good time. I can't wait for season 2.
Hopefully season 2 leads to a Witcher 4 potentially game.
I think if they get enough boost well, obviously there's already a boost from
the show
Netflix.
Has been extremely popular, so if CD Projekt Red, once they finish with their new game Cyberpunk 2077, they better get on making a Witcher 4. I don't know what the story's going to be, because as far as I know, that's the extent of the way the books go.
I have no idea. I'll have to keep reading.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's the extent of where the books go. The show obviously hasn't even touched The Witcher 3 yet, so the show's got a way to go. But if the Witcher 4 game happens, we don't know what really there is to offer.
Because Witcher 3 kind of ended. Like, it ended. Not to spoil anything, depending on which ending you get, but...
Geralt and Yennefer live happily ever after.
Sometimes.
If you get the ending where Ciri becomes a Witcher, then Geralt and Yennefer live happily ever after.
But there's other bad endings, and it could be better or worse depending on how you look at it. We won't spoil those because you just have to figure those out.
But yeah, but if they make a new game,
what's it gonna be?
What happens? Like Geralt and Yennefer are in retirement.
Ciri?
Is Ciri the main character?
I would still play.
I would not be opposed.
I'd be a little upset because I love Geralt.
I mean, she'd have all the same moves as Geralt, so like the combat style wouldn't really change, I don't think.
Except she doesn't have signs.
She also has Elder Blood, so she's got actually cool powers.
But she's got like the blink thing.
I'm sure she can use signs. I don't think she's prohibited from using signs.
We haven't seen her use it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a thing. I don't know.
Well, she hasn't. Has she undergone the mutations?
I don't think. Is that why women can't? They don't have women witchers. Is it because they can't do the mutation? I don't know. There might be something up with that.
I don't know if she's done the mutations.
Oh, they've lost the ability to make witchers. Remember?
Oh, that's right. They mentioned that in the game when they're trying to break Avalok's curse.
So yeah, they can't. Maybe they find a way. I don't know.
We'll see, but we are hoping for a Witcher 4 because it will be a gorgeous looking game, and it will be a huge game because it'll be powered by the new consoles. So we're gonna be really excited about that.
And we will be buying it, pre-ordering it, buying it, and giving a podcast so that y'all can hear about it. Who knows when that's gonna be? Far down the line, if at all.
Several years from now.
But
likely.
You will hear about it. Next week, we plan on talking about, I'm going to do a writing episode that's going to be mostly about characters and world building. And it's going to be cool. I'm going to teach you how to make fantasy sci-fi things and make a character that's realistic, because I think that's really important.
So if you're interested in writing at all, stay tuned for next week's episode, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you. Insert Nerd Topic Here is hosted by Caroline Vaught and Chris Rogers.
Connect with us on our social media pages. On Twitter @NerdTopicsPod. On Instagram @NerdTopicsPodcast. On Facebook, Insert Nerd Topic Here Podcast, or Nerd Topic Podcast, or subscribe on YouTube, insert Nerd Topic here.
Reach out to us via email at insertnerdtopics@gmail.com. New episodes release every Saturday at noon Central Time. Thanks for listening!